Hello and welcome back. I am so glad to have you back on my channel. And if this is your first time, welcome. I'm glad you are here. I am Makisha, and today we are going to talk about communication. Of course, all of us think we communicate well, right? I know we have a few people who are honest and say they will actually say, you know what, Makisha, I don't communicate as well as I need to, I should, or I want to. And when I am just talking to people in general, not coaching or not in a therapy session, sometimes I find my own self not communicating well. And I have to say, wait a minute, this is what I intended to say, or this is what I intended to ask you. It happens to all of us where we may not convey our thoughts as well as we want to, or we may not say exactly what we want to say. We're not articulating it well. And there are times when we say the words that we intend to say, however, the delivery is wrong, or the delivery isn't, it doesn't land where we want it to. And sometimes after you said, you're like, wait a minute. The way that sounded, that's not how I meant it. Tell me, what were you thinking when I said that? Sometimes you have to check in. You have to make sure you double check to see how that person interpreted what you stated, which is something we're going to talk about in just a moment. So, I want you to ask yourself this question. How well do you believe you communicate? Meaning, how well do you listen? How well do you demonstrate empathy? How well do you just sit there and take in what the person is saying without you preparing an answer, without you trying to figure out how to fix them or fix the situation? How well do you listen attentively without being distracted? So many individuals, and I've said this before, if you go out somewhere, you will see people at a restaurant on their phone, especially if they are friends or family members, even sometimes individuals who look like they're on a date. They will be on the freaking phones. Put your phone down, people. Put it down. You can't put it down for an hour, 2 hours. Like, what is so important to where you cannot give the individuals who are in your present your undivided attention? So many of us live distracted lives. When we live distracted lives, that means we're not taking the opportunity to slow things down a little bit, be mentally present, and truly listen to the other person. And sometimes it's not even to listen to the other person, it's to listen to your own thoughts. It's to listen to what's going on around you in your environment. Excuse me, what's going on? If someone asks you a question, would you be able to truly answer them if you're distracted by your phone? If you're distracted by watching TV, reality TV, sports, whatever it may be? So, communication is what we're going to talk about. And this is just one aspect of it, because there are so many layers to communication and communicating effectively to where it works for each person, whether it is a sibling, whether it's a parent, whether it is a child, a significant other, people you go to church with, individuals whom you work with. There are different layers and there are different ways we communicate depending upon the environment we're in. Some people perform to whatever environment they're in. There are some individuals where they're the same and they don't care what environment they're in. It doesn't matter if someone is famous, head of a country, or whatever. They're going to be the same no matter what. And you can count on that. There would be very little change. There are other people, when they're in those other environments, they get to talking. You're like, who is that? They communicate totally different in that environment versus how they communicate with you. So, one of the things I want to talk about today is how we talk to each other, how we show up, and do we truly give individuals the space to trust us with their heart, with their feelings, and with their thoughts? I can say from my own experiences, I haven't always done that. And it took me several years to realize that, and after some failed relationships, to really do some self assessment of my personality and how I respond and how I interact in relationships. And I believe that I give individuals an opportunity to have a safe space to talk about what they need to talk about. But through self assessment and reflection, I realized I didn't always do that. So, over the last few years, I really worked on myself, trying to make sure I foster that type of environment. Do I get it right all the time? I do not. Do I continue to work on it? Yes, I do. I realize the importance of demonstrating empathy, the importance of making sure I'm not trying to fix everything. I realize the importance of allowing individuals the space to share and be who they are without them feeling like I'm going to criticize them or judge them for how they feel, who they are, what they do, and how they respond. I don't have to agree with your position or what you're saying to still support you. I can support you, but disagree with your stance on a situation. It doesn't mean that we cannot communicate in a healthy way. It simply means we can communicate in a way where we can express our differences without it evolving into an argument. One of the things that's so important, and I see this all the time with couples, it doesn't matter if they're dating, it doesn't matter. Well, I also see it in family situations too. It doesn't matter if the couple is dating, it doesn't matter if they're married, it doesn't matter if they are going through a rough patch or if they're in a pretty good place, but there's still some things they know need to improve. Even with family members, I see it in my own family where people have a tendency to avoid conflict. And avoiding conflict is like death to the relationship. When you have to deal with something, you have to deal with it. And just because you may anticipate it being hard, it being difficult, the person's going to spaz out, the person's going to be yelling and going off, using profanity, throwing things. It doesn't always have to be that way. Avoiding a conversation or a situation is not, and I repeat, it is not helping the situation at all. It actually compounds the situation and it breaks down the trust that is there. So when you're avoiding having a conversation, you are putting yourself, your feelings, and your thoughts on the back burner, trying to, in most cases, this isn't always the case, but in most cases, you're putting your feelings on the back burner instead of addressing it because you feel like, one, it could be an argument, or two, you don't want to hurt the person's feelings. Three, you want to make sure everything is smooth and there are no disagreements or there is no type of tension between you and the person, but you're not honoring yourself and you're not honoring that relationship when you do that. It is important to take the time to have the conversation, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. It may take several conversations to get through it. It may not be one conversation where you think you can talk about it and it's done and over with. That doesn't always happen. One, it depends upon the depth of the hurt that could be there because you may need to talk about something that hurts someone. And you may need to make sure that you're addressing that in a way that works for them and works for you. So, one of the things that I have found more often than not, one of the reasons, one of the main reasons people do not talk about what is going on and they avoid the conflict is because they do not believe they have a safe space to open up and share and be vulnerable. If you do not trust the person you're talking to keep your information confidential, if you don't trust them not to judge you, if you don't trust them not to criticize you, if you do not trust them to just listen and not give advice when it's unsolicited, it's going to be difficult for you to want to open up and share or deal with conflict. Conflict is not bad. It simply means that it's an opportunity to listen, to learn, to gather information, and work on how you can move forward to resolve the situation. Conflict doesn't mean it's bad. We act as though conflict is a bad thing. It can be, depending upon how we handle it, depending upon our tone, depending upon our delivery. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And I want you to ask yourself, do you create a safe space and place for your spouse, your children, your family members, a coworker, church members, whomever it is? Do you create a safe space for individuals to be able to talk to you when they need to? Or are you like a ticking time bomb where no one knows if you're going to show up and just absolutely go off like a crazy person or like someone who cannot manage their emotions? It is important to be able to manage your emotions and to be able to manage through a conversation, even if you're upset, even if you're hurting, even if you are angry, whatever emotions you're feeling, you need to be mature enough to manage your emotions and to still have the conversation in a healthy way. If someone believes they're going to be judged by what they're going to share, chances are they're not going to open up and share everything with you. They may share certain parts or certain things that they deem safe enough to share with you, but they may not open up and share everything if they believe they're going to be judged or you're going to criticize them. Remember, if you're listening with the ears of empathy and the ears to understand and the heart to support, you would not criticize and you would not judge. Just because their decision, their perspective is different from yours, it does not mean it is wrong. It simply means it's different from yours. Give them the space to feel safe when they come and talk to you. Remember, no judgment, no criticism, so they can open up. The second thing is you want to make sure if someone shares something with you, it stays between the two of you. Don't go sharing their business with other people. And especially if you all have mutual friends, keep your mouth closed. Did they ask you to share it? No. If they did not ask you to share it, zip it up, shut it up, and don't share it. It is difficult for someone to open up and share and feel like they have a safe space to talk to you about something if they know you're going to go blab your mouth and talk to everybody about it. No, and you really find this a lot in families. It is like, let's just say, for example, if there are two siblings getting into it and there is more than those two siblings, let's say there are 3, 4 more in the family. If those two seem to be having an issue with each other, or they are at an impasse in their sibling relationship, or they feel like the other one isn't listening for some reason, or they're having difficulties communicating with each other. It's like the entire family, the immediate family, is brought into this system, into this situation. It does not have to be between everyone. And there are times, even when you are family members, particularly if you are siblings, everything doesn't have to be shared with the other siblings just because you're family. It doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes children, whether they're adult children, teenagers, that is why some of them do not open up and share with parents, because they're concerned about the parent going and sharing with some of the other kids, some of the other siblings, sometimes their own siblings, which is the child's aunt or uncle. Every person, I don't care what age they are, they want to know they can talk to you in confidence. If they don't tell you you can share it, why are you sharing it? That is not your place. When people share things with me, sometimes someone will come to me and they will say, "Hey, did you know such and such?" And depending upon what the topic is, what they're asking me, did I know? I would say, "No, I didn't know that." And I may know, but it wasn't my responsibility or my place to share their information. If they share it, that's okay. But I am not going to go share their business if they didn't tell me it was okay. And there are certain things I firmly believe that individuals should share on their own. A pregnancy, that's something they should share when they want to share it with you. If they get a divorce, that's something they should share with you when they're ready to. If they're getting married, that's something they should share with you when they want to. If they lost their job, that is something they should share when they want to. There are certain life events in certain situations. If they're ill, that is something they should share with you when they want to. There are certain things that I believe it is that person's responsibility to tell you if they want you to know. It is not my responsibility to share their personal information, even if it is a highlight of their life. Or you ask, "Hey, I think this is great news. Are you okay with me sharing it with such and such or with someone else?" Get their permission. The third thing is listen, and I mentioned this a moment ago, listen with empathy. Have an open heart of support and listen with empathy. That will go a long way. Be present. Listen. Give them your attention, your undivided attention, and sit there and have a conversation. And sometimes take their hand. If it's a family member, if it's your significant other, sometimes just holding their hand or just putting your hand on their shoulder or on their knee or their leg as you all sit there next to each other, sometimes that's all they need. They need a touch so they know that you're listening, you're there, you're demonstrating care, you're demonstrating empathy, you're demonstrating concern. Sometimes they're not asking for your thoughts, they just want to share, they just want to know you're listening. So keep an ear of empathy when someone is talking to you. And if you need to talk to someone, make sure you go to them in the right spirit and with the right attitude, and not have an attitude which automatically puts most people on the defensive. So don't do that. The next thing is, and you know what? I never even thought about this until someone mentioned that they do this, depending upon who they're talking to. Kind of like perform, what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. No one wants to feel like they have to perform to get you to listen. No one wants to feel like they have to perform and be someone they're not, because they are concerned about what you're going to say. You should be able to open up, share your heart, share how you feel, be vulnerable without performing, which in what I put in terms of you're wearing a mask because you do not want them to know every single thing that's going on, but you really and truly want to share it, but you feel like you can't. So don't feel like you have to perform for people and say that everything is okay and everything is all right when you know it's not. Pick the people to have, have people in your life. Select the right people to be in your space, your inner circle, where you don't have to perform. Because you don't have to perform, you don't have to wear a mask, you don't have to wear a facade, you don't have to pretend when people are true friends and they care about you. So I hope this video helped you in some way. I hope it encourages you to ask yourself, are you creating a safe space for someone to open up and communicate with you in a healthy way that's healthy for your relationship and that's healthy for you all as individuals? When someone does not feel like their environment is emotionally as well as physically safe, they tend not to open up and share as much as they want to, or they won't do it at all. They will perform. They will say everything is okay. They will wear the mask instead of sharing that they're hurting, they need a listening ear, they're going through something. So create a safe space with your spouse, with your significant other, your child, or your parent. And I will close with this example of, even with children, you have to make sure you're creating a space of trust and a safe place for them to share. Probably about a month ago now, my husband came home and he had gone to visit our granddaughter, and he said, hey, what did you tell her about you coming to visit on Sundays? And I said, I just told her, I would come over as I can because I work on Sundays. And he stated that she expressed that she didn't understand why I didn't come over on Sundays with him to spend time with her. And that hurt me, that I disappointed her. So that next morning I got up, I texted her mother, and I said, hey, if it's okay with you, I would like to FaceTime her later this evening because I want to talk to her, and I explained what it was about. So that evening, I had an opportunity to FaceTime her, and I said, hey, Gigi understands that I may have disappointed you, or I may have hurt your feelings in making you think that I don't want to come see you. I said, and that's the furthest from the truth. I never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever want you to think that I don't want to spend time with you. It's important for me to spend time with you, and it's important for me to know that you know that. So I am very sorry that I disappointed you. I'm sorry that I hurt you. And if I made you feel any type of way other than that, Gigi, sorry. I'm sorry for that. I said, so can we talk about when I will come over, and can we make an agreement? And she said, yes. I said, so can we agree that Gigi will come see you at least 2 times per month? And if it's more than that, that is great, but at least 2 times? She said, yes. I said, okay. So since that time, I have gone each Sunday except for one Sunday a month because I don't go to Sunday before it's my week to go into the office. Other than that, I go see my baby. I make her a priority. I'm intentional about it. And I share that story because although she is little, although she is young, she still has feelings, and I want her to understand the importance of communication, the importance of trusting someone to show up for her and have the difficult conversations. I want her to know she's worthy of that, and I want to honor the relationship we have. So I hope that encourages you and help you to see that it doesn't matter the relationship type, whether it is a parent child, grandparent grandchild, a sibling, a spouse, someone you're dating. It is important to make sure you have the conversations that need to be had, and you make sure you're doing everything possible to create a safe space for you all to have those conversations. I hope this has helped in some way. If you have a comment, please leave it. If you have found the situation that you've had to work through, you realize you've had to create some safe spaces for others to share with you, and you've asked, or you may have asked others to make some changes so you feel like you're safe when you talk to them, please share it. Please let me know. If you are encouraged to subscribe, please do. This is the type of information I share about relationships, because all types of relationships require us to communicate in some form or fashion, and we need to work on that. So, have a wonderful evening, and until next time, communicate well, create a safe space for yourself and someone else, and always remember, we're never too old to adjust and to learn how to communicate better.